absolutely everyone. So it doesn't matter what job you take, any information that you glean from tonight's meeting will affect you at some point when you're working out in the corporate world. My name is Karen Visder. I will be your moderator this evening. And as I mentioned a moment ago, I have just recently retired from UMass Lowell as a senior adjunct professor teaching professional communications. And I am the activities director and liaison of our ACMS, formerly APICS, Massachusetts Minuteman Board of Directors. And I'm very happy to be running this show for you this evening. And let's see if I can change slides.
I was ready to get a rake, Karen.
Hmm?
I was ready to get a
All
rake.
those leaves.
Yeah, and they make a lot of noise too. They're ruffling.
So, whoops. What's happening to this? Whoop. Okay. So we have a joint meeting tonight. It's being sponsored by not only the Massachusetts Minuteman chapter, but the Western Mass and New Haven chapter, as well as the American Society for Quality, ASQ. Companies represented here via our speakers are Discerna Pharmaceuticals, Pfizer Incorporated, Amazon and Amazon Robotics, Double Engineering Company, Excelis Technologies. Mark, the name of your company is no longer Demand Planning, but you wanted that changed to?
It's Valtitude. So we used to be Demand Planning LLC. We rebranded as Valtitude. And my apologies for not sending you the name.
That's okay. Valtitude. Wonderful.
Demand Planning is fine as well.
And then we do have a recruiter with us this evening from Michael Page International. And we're thrilled to have you all working with us on bringing this event to students from these colleges. Participants are from not only Babson that we learned tonight, but Merrimack College, Northeastern, Quinnipiac, and both the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and Lowell. Are there any other universities being represented here this evening other than those? People we haven't met yet from different universities. Anyone in particular?
You must have covered them all.
I guess so. I guess so. At this point, I would like for Mark, who you've all met at this point, who's wearing our wonderful Apex baby blue shirt. Looks so
I hope
good
you
on
can see
Mark.
this.
Yes. Mark, I will turn the meeting over to you.
All right. Thank you, Karen. All right. Welcome all. Welcome this evening to our program on operations and supply chain management. As Karen mentioned, my name is Mark Choklingam, and professionally, I work for Valtitude, which we rebranded from Demand Planning LLC. And Valtitude is a supply chain consulting boutique, and we are based in Woburn, Mass. So, but I'm also the president of the Massachusetts Minuteman chapter of, I used to say APICS, now it's ASCM. So ASCM stands for Association for Supply Chain Management. And we were APICS, which was I think it was the American Production and Inventory Controller Society for almost 50 plus years. And then they rebranded as Association for Operations Management. Now they are Association for Supply Chain Management. But we actually provide the same quality education that we used to provide, 30, 40 years ago, but now it's more digital supply chain. And we have also merged with some sister organizations, professional organizations now. So ASCM is also, so we also provide education in logistics and also best practice metrics as well. So we are the largest nonprofit association for supply chain. We connect supply chain professionals, students with companies all over the world. So this is actually a great opportunity for you to meet professionals and corporations. And in fact, actually, we have a recruiter from Michael Page here today as well. So this is a great opportunity to network and learn about supply chain management. So I just want to briefly talk about the educational offerings. right? I know we have, follow-up program that, there will be mention about what we do in detail as well. Primarily, our offerings are in supply chain management. Two major courses that we offer are certification programs. One is the CPIM program. And, again, that was rebranded as well. Now it's called Certified in Certified in Planning and Inventory Management. That's a very popular program, CPIM. It's offered in two parts, CPIM 1 and CPIM 2. And then the second major certification program that's very popular, particularly among senior professionals, is the CSCP program, Certified Supply Chain Professional. And then we also offer the logistics certification called as the CLTD. Now, the Minuteman chapter offers both CPIM and CSCP every 3 months. In fact, as we speak, this fall, we have both CPIM 2, Part 2, as well as CSCP being offered, and they are all offered virtually. After the pandemic, we moved virtually, and we may probably move to blended learning, and maybe we'll go in person, hopefully in 2022. And we also have a number of programs. We just conducted the NESCON program, which is a supply chain conference, a one-day conference that Ken and others conducted this month. That's a very popular program. Ken mentioned about 400 plus people attended that program. But not only this, I would welcome all of you to look at our website and then see if any of the programs interest you. Every month we have either a speaker or a plant tour that we organize that'll be very helpful in terms of your knowledge and education. So with that, I turn it over back to Karen to continue with the rest of the program. Welcome again and enjoy the program.
Thank you very much, Mark. And we are fortunate to have our Director of Education and Research present at the moment. And then her name is Emily Zane. And Emily, if you could add on to anything else that Mark had to say, that would be great. Otherwise, did he cover it all?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm really happy to be here. And I think Mark pretty much said everything that needs to be said at this point in terms of the classes. Yeah, we have a bunch of different options that are for students like yourselves. There are ones that you can online systems that you can take at your own pace, or if you want to be with other students going through it together, there are instructor-led classes that we typically run at least one a semester, if not two, depending, mostly the CSCP and the CPIM. And please reach out to the education email or to myself or anyone. Many of the people on the board, myself included, have taken these before. I'm also an instructor, so if you have any questions, as you're thinking about it, just let me know. And I think Daisy actually took and passed the exam fairly recently as well. So
Daisy, raise your hand as well.
Yep. So we have some firsthand experience with how to prepare for it. So yeah, anytime if you have questions. I think we're planning to have the next classes coming up in January, February of next year. But in the meantime, there's lots of different options for getting those certifications if you're interested. So, and memberships are free. I don't know if I'm stealing Ken's thunder, but memberships for students are free, so you should take advantage of that while you can. Sorry, Ken.
And just to add it,
Yep.
Our colleague from the chapter membership director is also taking the class for the CSCP, Joy Collins. And if you have questions, what it's about to take a class and go to the module and everything, Joy's taking the class right now for the CSCP as well.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And just you think about the classroom environment. First of all, for somebody if you can't tell on the video here, it's been a long time since I've been in a classroom as a student. Yeah, in the classroom environment, lots of interaction. It's at a very fast pace, I will tell you that for sure. Right, there's a lot to cover. It's not a light use of time, but it's definitely great for the collaboration and hearing from others, as well as getting some of the I'll say more formal and structured learning around the discipline. So great stuff. Yeah, and congratulations again to Daisy for recently certifying.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right.
And by the way, Karen, I'm adding in the chat window right now a link to join as a student member if you want to join for free. No problem. It's in the chat window right now. By the way,
I think
anything we
that's
put in,
yeah,
anything
definitely
we
to take advantage of. Correct. Yeah.
anything we put in the chat window, you have to copy now, paste it somewhere on a Word doc or whatever, because once the Zoom meeting's over, the links go away. People often will say, "Oh, geez, I needed that link. I forgot to copy it." So copy everything now. And also at the end, I will be putting a link for a survey as well as a cert, a certificate, so you can show your professor that you did attend this class. And I'll put that link at the end. So you kind of have to, towards the end, you have to stay at least.
And Ken, while you have the floor, would you like to tell all our students and potential new members from different corporations that may have joined us at this point all about our programs coming up?
I would love to. I just wanted to say one more thing about what Emily was saying. So the big thing about certifications is if you can get those letters after your name, CPIM or CSCP, I'll tell you this, at Excelis, when we get, where I work for my real job, when we get resumes with letters after the name, CPIM, CSCP, whatever, CPM, all of those, we pull those out and say, all right, we want to look at them. They took the time to get certified. They probably have a little bit more educational knowledge in the supply chain, particular operations areas, logistics. That's the people we want to talk to. And when I went for a job 20 years ago, I got 5 offers. And all the people told me that was one of the things that helped pull, that resume out. So it's really a good thing to have certification. I did it instead of an MBA, but there's nothing wrong with an MBA. But it helped me immensely. So anyway, on to programs. So let's see, October 20th, we are going to have, and it will be up by the end of tonight, early tomorrow, Training Within Industry is our next virtual program. It's free. And if you check our website out, if you use that students page, you can also click to events and then see what other events are coming. These are not posted yet because we have to create the Zoom ahead of time and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, we try to do it right after, one after another. So October 20, in another week, Training Within Industry, TWI, Susan Janice. That'll be a very good topic. And then November 10, we have Team Leadership Values and Process for Sustainable and Continuous Improvements. And it is a Scrum Master Coach that'll be presenting it. He's very energetic, let me tell you. December 1 is going to be virtual, and we'll let you know who the speaker is going to be. Mark and I have to nail that down. It'll be a holiday themed event, but it'll be fun. That's December 1st, Wednesday. It'll be all these are virtual and they're all free. January 19 is Communication Between All Levels, Stop Blaming and Start Solving. David Goddard, he's actually on the board for Ollie White, so that'll be really good. February 9 will be our next student night. It'll be virtual. Karen will be running it again, and we'll have some different people also that were on our last February student night helping run tables too. And I think if anyone who's from Quinnipiac knows Olivia, she'll be one of the people, Olivia Atkins. So that'll be fun. And February, we expect to have Dr. Joseph DeFeo. And then the rest we'll keep you posted on. The calendars will be posted as needed. And one last thing, October 3rd next year, we will have virtual NESCON again. It will be free, 5 hours of free education. So please join us. Thank you.
Awesome. Ken, our guest speaker is having a problem dialing in, and it keeps saying she's blocked. And she, at this point, is just wondering if she should have a phone number so that she can speak to the crowd.
All right, hang on. Yeah, you can't, as far as I know, you can't block anyone on Zoom. I wouldn't even know how to block someone if I wanted to. So it must be something with her, potentially with her browser or something. Oh, or it could be work too.
It could be, I suppose, that Pfizer is blocking you, Michelle, but Pfizer doesn't usually
It's
block you.
possible. I don't know. Wait a second. I'm having a little bit more luck right now. I got a little
No,
further.
it just said I'm admitting her right now.
Okay, he just tried to admit you.
I did. It says she's joining.
Well, let's hope she's joining.
It says, please wait. The meeting host will let you in.
Okay.
I did. Yeah, and now it's giving me the circle. It says Michelle is joining.
Yeah. So he did give you this permission, and it's just thinking.
Yeah, for
Okay.
some
Show-
reason, it's got to
She's
be the
showing her
Pfizer.
Pfizer vaccine card.
I
Yes.
calls all the time.
Yes, that makes sense that you are.
I did
And-
send her a phone number as well, but
Oh.
it is it's got to be the Pfizer firewall.
I'm imagining that you can hear Ken. Michelle.
I can hear him, yep.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a
People in the
phone
next
number,
town can hear me.
And is that still spinning for you, Ken?
It says Michelle is joining, but it must be something firewall related at her
Wait
company.
a second.
Oh,
wait a minute.
you're in.
This meeting is being recorded. Got it.
Awesome, awesome. It sounds like you're
Amen.
just about there.
Yeah, so
I
you could.
see.
Yes.
I
Okay, I'm
see
gonna switch to my
Michelle.
headphone. Hold on a sec.
Yeah,
Okay. You guys are gonna love Michelle. She's awesome.
I was just gonna say that, Ken. She is worth waiting for.
Yep.
I have my headphone on
All right.
as well as my phone to see if this is working.
Okay.
I can see you, Karen, and I can see Mark.
Awesome.
Hello.
See me.
No, we're not seeing you.
Hear anything? Wait a second. Let me see if it's on my end here.
All right.
Sound
Yep, ma-
100%.
I can tell you in the past, sometimes people's laptops, they have a slider that blocks the camera. So that's a problem. And then we had someone at work yesterday. I'm like, they're trying to turn on camera. I'm like, do you have your laptop lid open? Oh yeah, no, they didn't, which is where the camera is. So, so we had to kind of remind them
I
of that.
see the screen is black. And I can see participants.
Okay.
Yeah, you are in, and it doesn't even say you're muted. So
Sound here.
she
Well,
has
we
to go down to the bottom microphone.
Yeah, so we're not getting a picture of you. We have your name on the screen.
Right, you won't get a picture of me. That's hard to do.
Oh, okay.
But the audio should work. Down on the bottom left, it'll say mute.
Yeah,
the
you don't
microphone.
have the audio on mute, right?
And she's not muted, so you want to hit the little arrow up button next to the right of the microphone, and that'll tell
Yeah.
you what you want to connect to, your headset or whatever. In fact, if I can share screen.
Okay, I am joined by audio, unable to use computer audio.
All right. How
Zoom
about
is temporarily unable to use computer devices to connect to the meeting.
all right?
So I'm having a
So-
Zoom issue.
Okay, so if we're not able to get you on Zoom, we certainly have you on telephone. And can everyone hear her using my phone?
Yes.
All right, and we're not going to get a picture of you anyway, Michelle, which is very unfortunate. Michelle is so lovely. But you
Thank
can,
you very much.
I'm going to introduce you now, and you can speak to the crowd. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Michelle Lawrence is who we are speaking with at the moment, and she is a site manager, MRO, supply chain at Pfizer in Andover, Massachusetts. And she needs no further introduction. If she were standing in front of you and wearing her badge, you would see that she's got the longest list of courses that run through ribbons all the way down her very, very long list of credentials. So she comes to you with tons of experience that she's going to talk about this evening, and I'll let her take it away, Michelle.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. And hello, everybody. I'm very sorry for the technical difficulties we have just had. I apologize for that, but my message is going to come through to you loud and clear because I really am very excited to be able to talk to the group. I'm very anxious to impart some experiences that I've had that may help you in the future. And so I am here. So let's get started. Everyone can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. The first thing I wanted to talk to you all about, one, I would say I'm very happy to see you all, and I'll be very glad when we can get back to live meetings. But I'm very happy that you joined tonight. There's a lot of wisdom on this call. There's a lot of experience, and we are the old guard, and we're very anxious to pass the baton on to the next generation of supply chain operations professionals, which you all are going to be. I want to talk about for 1 minute your options, and I would advise you to be open-minded about your career path. We speak to students all of the time, and mostly, to be perfectly honest with you, mostly the questions that I get, especially because I've always traveled a lot, is one, how much money do you make? And two, what job position will get me to travel the most? And I'm not negating those as important factors, but keep your mind open. Look for what brings you the greatest deal of satisfaction, what you feel passionate about. And I want to tell you where I started, because it is very, 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 very far from where I ended up, which is a very successful career. But my friends, I started my career path at 18 years old as a nun. I was 100% sure that's what I was supposed to be, felt I had a calling, went to a convent, and it didn't work out. I mean, it wasn't really what I think I was meant to do. And that left me in quite a quandary, and I wasn't sure what direction to take after that. And in some of you, as you were approaching joining the professional world, may suffer some of that kind of confusion and maybe lack of direction, because the options are so great and it is very hard to make those decisions. So I want to caution you to, if you've had your eye on the ball for one thing, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I am saying always be aware of what's around you. Always be aware of where your talents line up the best and where your interests line up the best, and be open to opportunities and options as you proceed forward. I think that was an important thing. I wish somebody had told me that, many years ago, because I drifted from my original plan, the plan that everybody thought I was going to fulfill. I kind of felt like a failure on the way, like, oh, this is second best, or this is a for now kind of a thing. And I don't want you to feel that way, because the options are there. You have a bright horizon ahead of you with many challenges, but it can be very exciting. And again, keep your mind open. We here at Pfizer get a lot of interns, and I want to talk to you about that. If you can get an internship or a co-op program, jump at it, because it'll give you some real-world experience. You'll be connecting to a great network, and build that network every day. You'll be connecting to a great network of professionals, and we are all very eager to help the next wave of professionals. That's why we're here. But I want to tell you about two young ladies who were here at Pfizer, and they were just turned, Jenny and Sophia, and they shared a cube, and they put a big banner up on their cube saying, looking for work. No job too big, no job too small. And I remember when I was on a tour with somebody, and they saw that banner over the cube thing, they were like, can they do that? Can we have a banner? I said, it beats me, I don't know. But those girls, first of all, everybody would chuckle when they went by. And secondly, the message got through to people. They let people know they were willing to work. And so they got all kinds of jobs. They got everything. They were asked to clean closets, clean lab equipment, help QA with investigations, and so they did everything. And they were enthusiastic. And after every single project that they had, they wrote a handwritten thank you note, not an email, not a handwritten thank you note to the people. And they always pointed out, while I was doing this, this is what I learned. Thank you. I'm adding that to my repertoire. Working with you, I learned this. They were very specific and very endearing also. Thank you for the really hard work kind of thing. Here's what I got out of it. No complaints, always cheerful. And they did a wonderful, wonderful job. They became a little bit legendary around here, to be honest with you. Now, we have interns who come in here, they get into a cube, they put on a set of headphones, and we never see them again. Those are two options. You don't get in trouble for doing that, but you miss an opportunity to suck up information, to capture wisdom from people who've been down the road before you, to learn more things. And these gals took full advantage of it. Well, when the internship period was over, all these kids go back to school, and we have a cake. We're big on cake here at Pfizer. We have a cake. And so we're celebrating. Bye. See you later. Good luck. Ta-da. And these two gals were singled out for their ingenuity, their enthusiasm, their willingness to work, their creativity, and they were offered jobs at Pfizer. And their starting salary left me speechless because they were seniors at, I believe, UMass Lowell. They were seniors, and they had a career with the #1 pharmaceutical company in the world because they took advantage. They saw the opportunity for being an intern, and they embraced it. They impressed everybody. They've learned a lot, and they ended up with wonderful, wonderful options here. Neither one of them is still here at the Andover plant. I believe one is in Grange, Ireland, and the other one I think is in New York at headquarters. But their careers have moved very rapidly, and they've done a great job. So I want you to remember that. I want you to take advantage of that and replicate that if you have the opportunity, because they didn't set out looking for a job, but they got it, and that has been a wonderful opportunity for them. The other thing I want to, and Karen touched on this a little bit, is certifications. I have a lot of certifications. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always eager to hear what everybody else has to say. I'm always excited to know what's on the horizon. I like new technology. I like new approaches to things. But let me just tell you what I am. So I'm Michelle Lawrence. I am the site manager here at Pfizer Andover, the MRO supply chain. But after my name, I am a CPIM, I am a CPM, I am a CSAP, a CSCP, a PMP, a lean manufacturing, and Six Sigma black belt. All of those certifications have made me stand out whenever I've been looking for a career change, and even when I haven't been. It differentiates me from a lot of other people on LinkedIn, because almost no matter what anybody is looking for, I'll pop up. If somebody is looking for I'll pop up. If somebody wants somebody who has Six Sigma experience, I'll pop up. If somebody is looking for APIC certification, which a lot of people are these days, I'll pop up. And so while you're already into the studying mode, and trust me when I tell you, when you're 50, it's a little more difficult than it is than where you are today. Get in there, get your certs, get those letters after your name, differentiate yourself from the other people out there on the market. It will pay off. I guarantee you, it will absolutely pay off. So we are here to help you. We make taking courses as easy as possible. And any one of us here on this call, and we are all available via email or telephone, If you need some advice, if you're looking for what would be the most appropriate course or how to start, just ask any one of us. And we are all certified in something, and we are willing and more than able to help you achieve your goals. And those goals will help you as you move forward. I'm convinced of that because I am proof of that. Those will help you in your future endeavors. One, it's a great set of skills to acquire. Two, it differentiates you from the rest of the crowd. And three, those certifications are pretty impressive hanging on the wall, to be perfectly honest with you. So I would highly recommend, I would highly encourage you to pursue those. And with that, I want to wish all of you, first let you all know that you are our hope. All of you here on this call are the hope for the future. You are the next wave. You are the people who are going to be running everything in a shorter time than many of us even can grasp. So we have faith in you. We wish you all the luck. We are here to support you in any way that we can, and wish you all the very, very best. And thank you so much for letting me share this few words with you tonight. And if you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Any
You're
questions
welcome.
for Michelle?
Yes?
Extra credit for the students if they ask questions.
Oh.
Extra credit for the students if they actually turn on their videos as well, Ken.
Also, yes, this
We
is being
wanna see all of
recorded.
them.
It's being recorded, so the professors will get to see it, hopefully.
Yeah.
Impress
Any
your teacher.
questions for Michelle?
Yes.
Michelle is one of the most accomplished supply chain people.
Yep, someone had,
Yes.
someone
How
does
many
have one.
times have you come out of retirement when they begged you to come back to work, Michelle?
Oh my goodness, nobody believes me anymore. Nobody believes me. I've retired 3 times and I have come back. And I've come back because of the skills I bring to the table. They need people like us, and quite frankly, they're willing to pay for it. So get there. Okay, I see a hand up, Candace Walsh.
Hi, Michelle. My name is Candace. I'm actually not a student, but I was told to hop on this call just from a coworker of mine. I work at Thermo Fisher Scientific. So I wanted to hop on, just kind of hear more about the programs that you guys offer. But going off of that, so I'm currently looking at getting my black belt certification as well as some of these certifications. Where have you heard, I guess, where did you get this information? Like, how did you know what certifications to receive, and how has it kind of helped you as your current role as well as your past roles?
Well, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking. First, I started with Apex. That was my very first one. Went back, I got my CPIM when it was five modules. It's only 2 now. It was 5 modules back in the day. And that sort of started. It started me learning what was out there. And as I got more involved in operations and manufacturing, as I'm more and more into the workplace, I saw what was around me, what was needed. And I will tell you, Six Sigma is a wonderful thing to take, as well as PMP. But my start, my initial, and my go-to all the time has been my APEX certifications.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Did I see another hand up?
Okay, what can I tell you?
I thought trying to find the name. Paulina, did you have a question? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a hand up, but you know what? I'm available by email if anybody wants to connect with me, michelle.lawrence@pfizer.com. And I'll answer any kind of questions anybody has.
Ken, if you'll put that out there on our chat, that was michelle.lawrence@pfizer.com, was it?
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
And incidentally, Michelle worked day and night to bring the COVID vaccine.
Tonight, and I wish you all the very best. Take care.
Thank you, Michelle. Good night.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right. And now we're going to get into our speaker part of the program. Each speaker will take up to 6 minutes to chat with us, to tell us a little bit about their careers, and they've chosen each a single statement that they want to focus on. Emily, it will go first, and she is Associate Director, Supply Chain Planning at Discerna Pharmaceuticals, and her topic is swiping right on employers and getting them to swipe right on you. Developing your strategy for the marketplace. Emily, you're on.
Hey, thanks, Karen. Let's see here. Okay. You guys see? Oh,
Yes, we can see you, Emily.
great. Okay.
Are
We
you
can-
sharing slides, or are we just seeing you?
Oh, can you see my slides?
No,
Nope.
we are not
No. Okay.
You're pressing
Hmm.
slides, okay.
It's
Yes,
it-
I do
it's
have
just
slides.
Here you
Perfect.
go.
Can you see?
Love
Yep,
it.
now we can
Yeah,
see.
blue, just blue,
Yes,
very
we have
bright,
it. Thank
obnoxious
you.
blue. Okay.
We
awesome.
have it. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. So I wanted to just talk about, first of all, thank you, Michelle. I think you said a great kind of introductory part about a few different themes that I think will touch on. A lot of the speakers today will touch on different pieces of this, but I think from a job search, because that's what a lot of students have been focused on, from a job search perspective, as someone who has been in school for supply chain and fairly recently and looked for a job also fairly recently, I thought I would kind of have some advice that's tied to the marketplace that is very also relevant in people's lives right now. So I just thought it was like a funny term to talk about, swiping right, because that's basically what it is. And I just wanted to kind of have prior to getting into the resumes and interviews, and there's tons of stuff out on the internet for that, but just from a philosophical perspective, to kind of take a step back and think about what it is you actually are looking for, I think has been really helpful. I know I have very limited time, so I'm going to try to get through these as quickly as possible so that we can have time for questions or something like that. And I can also, I'm happy to talk after this anytime. So let's see. First, just a very brief intro about me. I really don't, just some highlights of the things that I worked on. I work in biotech, supply chain. I've been pretty involved in APICS. I did get my CSCP and also my PMP previously. I switched kind of career tracks multiple times. So I've done this kind of thing also multiple times in terms of trying to understand what it is I want to do when I grow up and how to explain that to people who might not really understand your past experience. A lot of people have done different types of internships. Like Michelle said, you should try different things, but then to try to kind of string those together into a cohesive story is not always that easy. And so I went to a supply chain focused master's program. And so that was a great kind of a similar kind of place where you guys are in terms of making sense of your experience in supply chain. It is a great time to be in this field. So I actually do think that you won't have a problem having people wanting you to work for them, but it's a nice place to be in terms of being wanted. But I think some things to think about is, what do you want to get out of that? And so anyway, these are just like, from someone who's kind of, a lot of people, I think if you talk to them, will be like, oh, I just fell into this and I just found it. And I just, one thing led to another and here I am. And that's great. But I don't know, I've heard those stories and thought like, oh, well, it doesn't always all work like that. Sometimes you really have to be very directed too. So just a different perspective. So anyway, these are some, experiences that I've had, which led me to the kind of, overall point of my few minutes is to really kind of, it's hard because, you know you and you're great, and people who love you will tell you you're great, but actually out there in the world, it's not really about you. And so I kind of trying to keep that in mind and thinking about it like a marketplace, right? Because you're kind of being evaluated against other people. And so similar to when you're, doing online dating, and for the record, I've done that. And, you're trying to kind of figure out what it is that you're looking for. And it helps to kind of, rather than being overwhelmed by the many, 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 many people out there, kind of thinking a little bit and about what it is you're looking for, filtering out some options, because I think some people might immediately say, like, I'm going to apply to all of the things. And A, that takes a lot of your bandwidth, and B, it really doesn't kind of get across the fit piece of it. And it's such a cliche, but it's really important, right? To know what you are a fit for, and therefore conversely, what you're not a fit for. Because it's you're not going to be all things to all people. And I think online dating helps because you do have, I don't know if many of you, I imagine, have some experience in that, but you can get overwhelmed very quickly because it's shopping on Amazon, except for your life partner, and that makes no sense. And people feel that way from a job perspective and from a employer perspective too, right? And so you I think the similarities are kind of a few of the bullets I've put out here right now, which is, to set up filters, right? Like you filter out a certain age or certain location. The same applies for what kind of job. Your job is going to be a place where you're going to spend a lot of time and energy, and being with the right type of people. That's your network. Like Michelle said, what kind of network do you want? And does this job get you there? And so just, you're not really being evaluated on the job description as much as it is on other people. And so when you're, just like you put together a profile and, things that you want to kind of highlight about yourself, being very, very clear about what that is and being able to communicate that to others is really, I think, helpful. And, I just put up some logos that you might recognize, and, thinking about what attracts certain types of people to certain types of sites, to certain types of communities. I think that helps. But the fundamental thing is that you have to kind of, put your leads out there as well and be strategic about it. And it sounds so not great to say that you're being strategic, but in the long run, it helps you get, the best position that will want you as well, right? So some questions. This is my last slide. Just some questions to think about, things that you should have some idea, and it'll look a little different every time. But as you're starting the search, or as you're kind of refining your resume, and thinking about what types of work you would like to do, or internships. And internships are a great way to get some, real world experience in those fields and build those relationships. It's also okay to have internships that suck and make you very sure that you never want to work in that industry ever again. I don't know. I have a little, I feel like you're trying to optimize your time. If you have a 2-month experience and you were miserable, to then sink more of your time into it might not be the best use of your time. So, what are your deal breakers? Another kind of, similar thing to kind of online dating. What are things that just, it's not going to work. It's not what you want. You can kind of twist yourself into thinking it'll work out, but why do that if there's, other better options out there? Pay, there's going to be kind of a pretty broad range of pay scales, even in supply chain and industries. So kind of, we have a lot of resources now to kind of on Glassdoor and, other people to see what is out there, if that's going to be an issue, and, prioritize what is really important. You'll probably not get perfect everything, but you're just trying to optimize, right? The best kind of fit across the candidates that you have. And then making sure that you kind of stack up, and that's a weird way to say it, but how do you, if someone is looking for, a supply chain manager, what are the features that they are looking for? What are some of the keywords they're using? How do you fit that? And, do you want to fit that? And how do you make the case to someone who doesn't really know you? I think I did a lot of counseling with students who are, brilliant MIT grad students, but their resumes, you would not know that they did the amazing things that they did. And, we spend a lot of time being like, okay, tell me about this. Oh, that's actually a very impressive detail that you did not mention in your document. And, this is only you can tell your story. I can't do that. No one on this call can say, oh, you know what, you did a great job in this specific thing that had a lot of impact. And trying to kind of quantify that as much as you can, I think will also help. And again, I don't think that this is, you'll hear a lot about networking specific. I know Dan has a whole networking, he's great at that, and different skills to kind of put this into like execute on it. But just, I think I just wanted to kind of give some first philosophical thoughts about how you could approach it. Things that only you can do. There's tons of templates and examples for resumes, for cover letters, etc. But the work of making sure you know what you're looking for and that you're the right fit in XYZ specific ways, unfortunately, no one can do that for you. And so that's the part where, just like finding someone to spend your life with, like no one knows if that's what's the right thing to do except you do. So the more you can invest a little bit on thinking through what your kind of plan is, and having it doesn't have to be one specific job. You can have maybe 2 or 3, like, okay, I could look at program management and I could look at analytics and I could look at, things, but don't try to be everything to everyone, because it will be very exhausting and demoralizing. So, and number,
Emily.
sorry?
Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
Are there any questions for Emily this evening? If you unshare your slides, you might be able to see hands.
That was one of the best presentations I've ever seen at student night. That was awesome. Absolutely awesome, Emily.
Find yourself cheerleaders like these guys. It always helps.
Yeah, no, that was really good,
Thanks.
And this recording will be up at some point on our website. So you can rewatch the slides. Emily, if you want to send me the slides, I can post those underneath.
Sure.
Any questions for Emily? Emily, if you stop sharing your slides,
Okay.
you'll be able to see a full screen and know if there are any hands up.
Okay.
Awesome. Questions
Great.
for Emily? Anyone? All right. We're going to be staying on the call at the end. So at the end of our evening, around 7:30, 7:45, if there are any questions, we can ask away at that time as well. Next speakers, we have a duo. That would be Daisy. Raise your hand, Daisy. She has the big ASCM behind her. And Agnes. Agnes, there you are, Agnes. And Daisy is Strategic Operations Program Manager for Amazon Robotics. Agnes is the buyer and planner for a buyer planner too with Doble Engineering. They're going to talk to you this evening about what to expect as a young professional on the job. Transition from undergrad to young working professional who graduated recently. So go for it, ladies. I'm going to start the timer now. You got 8 minutes.
Thank you. Sorry, I do not have a really cool slide as Emily. So she set the bar really high. But we're going to talk a little bit, like we had another talk like that a while ago with recent grad and students who are going to graduate. So what is like getting out of school and finding a job. So on the top of that, I am international student as well. So I'm originally from Brazil and I moved to Boston. It's going to be 7 years in a few months. And I moved here with no English. I learned the language. I went to school. I graduated from Northeastern University. I have a master's in project management. And I got a job offer 10 days after my graduation. So, what does it take to get there? First, a lot of effort. And like knowing the roadmap that Emily put it out there really helps. and second, like nobody's expecting anyone fresh out of college knowing everything. So what do you do to build this gap? Like one of the things that really helps is to start to look at the jobs that you want. So let's say that you're looking for something in project management. So what is the jobs in project management I'm looking for? It's a sort of some kind of analytics, some side of software. So put yourself out there, do some classes, build the knowledge, because when you go to an interview, you may not have the experience, but you're going to have the knowledge, and that makes a lot of difference. And that's one thing that for me really helped, was to be prepared in what I wanted. So I didn't have experience of project management. I literally graduated in Brazil and I moved here. So I didn't have that much work experience. So what really helps is like to build your bridge of what the marketing is really looking for. So LinkedIn courses, it's a really like Coursera, like that is plenty of places out there where you can learn these skills and gain the knowledge that you need. So again, like when you go to the interview, like just be yourself and making sure that like you're putting yourself out there in a presentable way, like going with the idea of what you want. And even if you don't have an idea, some sort of idea that would help. But the employers will understand that it's also like fresh out of college, and it's a learning curve. And one thing that really helps is to ask about career development in the organization that you're interviewing for. Like what can I expect in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year of knowledge of what I'm going to be exposed, if I'm going to be working projects, that I'm going to get the skills, and I'm going to get the knowledge of the industry. So those things really help me, and I believe like for own experience, I feel that can help you also, and be fearless, like try and get involved with organization. So my job at Amazon, I actually had a referral from the group, from the chapter. So he got my resume, and I got there, and I took from there. So, but it takes also a connection, and put yourself out there intentionally and be authentic. Like people can feel when people are faking. So be authentic. Like sometimes it is what it is. We out there, putting yourself out there because we need a job, but be yourself. I'm going to give some time for Agnes to also speak. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. It's what Daisy said is really important. Is a networking also. Yes. I'm graduate from Burma with the finance, and then I went to Taiwan, and then I came here working for the electronic components company as a broker companies, and currently at the engineering company. So I got my CPIM certificate, and I see that when you graduate and start landing on the field for the got a job, I encourage you have a flexibility, and then also observe the company culture. That is really important. I found out that no matter how excel you are in your professional, which is also important, but also important to have the good relationship with your management or your coworkers. Then that is also the big part that the holding in your success in the future. So if you find that I found that if you find that the company culture is not really fit for you, I think maybe you might want to look for the other, so you can grow even not only in your professional and also with your working environment. It's not toxic to your health, and then you will have a happy working environment. That is very, very important. And then have an open-minded, and then whatever you see good opportunity, open position, and then you think it's going to grow your experience, you will gain some experience. Don't hesitate to take it, because you just freshly graduated and then just started on got a job, and they don't really expect you the 100%. You has to be perfect doing the job, and somebody is always there to mentor you. So you don't need to afraid to explore more the opportunity. So also, and I found out not only in that because my background is a trading background, and now is in the manufacturing. So I thought it's a CPIM, the certificate. When I taken that, I'm surprised to see that the engineering, they came and get the certificate also. I said, why engineer? Now I understand. Nowadays, even not for the supply chains or marketing environment, also for the engineering, other professional, the supply chain management certificate also help in their career. So I encourage. So if you think, if you consider that might be helping you or not, but I think is that you just jump on it and then get your certificate, and no matter in your you're going to choose in your future path is going to be help you. So I wish you everybody and having success future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnes. Any questions for Daisy and Agnes?
I have a question. First of all, thank you for your insights. It's really helpful. And in my MBA, I'm actually planning to do a complete 1 semester course in supply chain management. So do you people still recommend me to do an additional course?
Do you mean like a specific course, or like in school or outside?
So I'm actually doing it in school next semester. 1 semester complete course on supply chain management. So you're talking about some courses, right? Like that could help me get along in my internship. So do you still suggest doing something in additional?
So I just got certified for CSCP, but was recently I graduated in 2018 for my master's. So one of the things that I did when I was in school, since I was already there for project management, I got my certification with the PMI. Was not the PMP, because my experience was from Brazil and I needed to translate it everything. And I was like, I'm not going through that. So I decided to get the CAPM, it's a Certified Associate in Project Management. So you can, if you feel you have the time, the energy to go through like a certification for ASCM, it's really helpful. You're gonna be able to see, if you go to LinkedIn, sometimes they have like on the bottom, desired EPIC certification. So it really helps to stand up, like for consulting, for instance, like most of the consulting companies, I was noticing that they have on the bottoms like EPIC certification desired. So it's really good if you have the time and the energy to go through that. So, but let's say like, no, Daisy, I really like right now I'm having 20 classes. I can't do that. That is a learning path on LinkedIn that's called Supply Chain Manager. So they have about, I think there's like 12 or 16 courses. I don't remember specifically, but they go through like Six Sigma. They go through a lot of like the work knowledge that sometimes it's a little bit different for the academia for what you see in school. And you keep in mind that the classes that they have at LinkedIn, they're like specific for the folks, they are like professional. So first thing, if you can, make sure like you try to get your certification because it really stands you up among everyone. But unfortunately, I don't have the time. Go take a class on LinkedIn Learning. You have Coursera. EDX has like 3 or 4 classes, and then you have like a micro masters for supply chain, which is also really good. So I would suggest those like in order.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's helpful.
Other questions? Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And Daisy and Agnes will be with us at the end if you think of any questions further down the road. Meanwhile, we're going to move on to our next speaker, and that would be Ken Glasser. And Ken, who you've heard from a number of times this evening, works for as a global sourcing contracts manager for Excelis Technologies. And Ken will talk to us tonight about how many opportunities there are for travel, domestic and international, in supply chain. Go ahead,
Thank
Ken.
you, Karen. That was a nice intro. Hey, so a couple of things. You know, I started out years and years ago at GE, and I was just an expediter chasing parts, and you know, it was an easy job. I didn't know much about supply chain, and they were like, yeah, it was a contract job. So I took it over. One of the buyers went out sick, and they said, hey, we need you to place some stuff. Would you mind buying? And I said, sure. So I took over the buying for that person who was out sick, did a great job. And they said, all right, we're going to hire you permanent and you are going to be a buyer. And then I did that for a few years. And then I got tired of doing the transactional. So I asked if I could help out with some of the contracts. Do some contracts. You don't have to keep placing an order over and over and over again every other month or every month. You know, you can set up some contracts that help govern everything. So I did that. I learned from some of the best, you know, like some of the previous speakers have said, you definitely want to learn from other people that are better than you. It's sort of like when you go online to look and search for something. My son says he'd rather look for an expert than just go ask anybody. So if you're working with people that have ended up being successful and work, you know, well, then use them. You know what I mean? They want it to be used. They want to give you their knowledge. So I did that and I learned from some of the best. And then the other thing I would say is, and I ended up as contracts manager eventually. And then do the stuff that no one else wants to do, by the way. I took on software licensing and royalty. I had no idea how that worked and learned it. And now I'm like one of the few people who know how to do it in the building. I might be the only one. So, and it's not fun at all, but I do it. And then there's also compliance, which is really not fun, but necessary. Certain things that are required for the EU and our government. And I try to do some of that. So take on what no one else wants to do and you become way more valuable. Plus you add niche skill sets that mean they don't have to hire 2 or 3 people. And you could potentially get more pay out of it. So anyway, as contracts manager, I started, you know, when you're doing a contract, you often want to go visit the site to make sure it's, you know, a good supplier. Are they, you know, financially good? Do they have good manufacturing processes? Is it clean? Do they treat their employees well, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, several of the places I started visiting were like California, or Kentucky, or St. Louis, New Jersey, New York. And that was a lot of fun. But when in 2003, I think it was, they said, gee, we should really look at this outsourcing thing. And, you know, back then, nobody knew what outsourcing was. You know, they were like, oh, yeah, well, we want to start with India. So they said, Ken, you're going to do that, right? And I'm like, sure, because it's something no one knew how to do and no one really wanted to do. And I said, I'll do it. So that I've been dealing with India since then for the last, I don't know, 18 years. And 7 trips to India. I've had to visit Bangalore, Chennai, Madurai, some of the most beautiful places in the world. India is one of my favorite spots to visit. You know, also dealt and visited Shanghai, Pudong, Puxi, some amazingly beautiful parts of China. So I love supply chain from that end of things. You know, I lucked out in some ways. When I first started doing the contracts job, We had a legal person that we worked with. There are 2 people in our company that are legal, the number 2 person in the company, and then just a regular legal person. So I would work with that person for the first 7 years of my career at Excelis, and then that person left. So I went to the number 2 person in the company and I said, what do you want to do? And she said, you've learned a lot of the legal, so handle the stuff that you can handle, and what you don't understand, come to me. So I've been doing the legal, a lot of it, in addition to the business parts of it. So that's been another learning curve that I love. So you have to find what you like to do. Some people look at me and they go, you like reading a 500-page contract and looking for stuff that's, good or bad? And I'm like, yeah, I have no problem with that. If that's not what you like to do, then don't do that. Most contracts are much smaller, the 2, 3, 6, 8, 10 pages. If you like negotiating, some people, you just know if you're a natural born negotiator. My son Nicholas is a natural born negotiator. He's been negotiating since 3rd grade. So, you have to find something that fits your skill set. But these kinds of opportunities in supply chain will give you some great opportunities for travel. Logistics, similarly, will give you some good opportunities to travel. Finance and operations management, also great opportunities for traveling. And I remember some of the students saying they were in marketing, and that's obviously a great opportunity for travel. So if you like to travel, some people don't like to travel. I've dealt with people who are like, if I have to get on another plane, I'll kill myself. Well, I kind of like traveling. I haven't been able to do it at all, but I mean, I have no problem traveling. It's nice to see what's out there in the rest of the world. So those are my thoughts. Hit me up with questions if you have any, folks.
Ready for those
Anybody?
hands. Any questions?
I would just like to say I think that was a very good presentation for me. I am big on traveling. I travel with my family every year because we have family overseas. So it was a good insight from you to me.
Yeah, it is so fun. One thing they did train us at Excelis when we first started was, so I've never been really anywhere out of the country until I started here as contracts manager. Eventually I was like, all right, what's it like in other countries? And they give you some prep courses to, what's different between here and China, or here in India, or here in Japan, and things that you might think are, what does that mean? I remember one time I was talking to one of the people in India about something, and I was saying what I had to say, and I'm thinking, this is really good. I think he's agreeing, but then all of a sudden he's going like this. And I'm like, I didn't know what that meant. Like, he's sort of shaking his head no, but it was sort of a figure 8. And the training eventually told me he was saying no problem. But I was thinking, uh-oh, he doesn't like it. So there's a lot of things that if you're not from another part of the world, you might not know. You need to get up on that. And the other thing I would say is, and I espouse to this myself versus, maybe some of the other American counterparts, but you need to care about the people you're dealing with and the company you're dealing with, because if they don't win and you win, then that'll be a one-time contract and you'll never get their trust again. So you need to build up the trust as people back and forth. So, when you get on the call, okay, what's the numbers? What's this? What's that? No, talk to them. If you know that they have 2 kids and one of them is, joining the cricket league or something like that, find out about it. I still don't know much about cricket, but they've been teaching me little by little. And the last time I visited, they even had me swing one of the cricket bats. So it was fun, but you have to immerse yourself in the culture. My daughter Mallory immerses herself into the culture of different countries. She's learning languages, Spanish, French, Korean, and Japanese, and a little bit of Chinese. So she immerses herself into the culture, which helps her more easily learn the language and how to deal with the people. So those are other suggestions I would say. No matter where you're from, try to do that with the other countries you're dealing with. So those are my thoughts.
Sorry for interrupt. It's not my time, but I took a class, International Project Management, and the professor gave us this book that's called Kiss Ball or Shake Hands, and how to do business with other countries. And it's so good. It is. I highly recommend this book. The class was really cool, chill, but yeah, it gives you a very good understanding of how to, like, some countries you're gonna shake hands, some countries you're like, that you need to put the car on the table, like a lot of things that I had no idea about it. It really helps, especially when you're dealing with supply chain. You want to make like a good impression, and it really helps if you either have a very good group on the company that would give you support, or if you're reading your own. But yeah,
I put the title in.
Or
Yeah.
shake hands, huh?
I would
Yeah.
always have my professional communications students study that book.
oh
Very important book.
I put the name of it in the chat. So if anyone
Thank you, Ken.
wants to
Thank you.
capture that, that'd be great. But
And if
it's,
there are no further questions for Ken, anyone? Questions for Ken? We'll move on to our next speaker.
So Ken, I do have a question. So I know you really enjoy your travels to India. Do you miss India now for the last 3 years or so now?
yes, when COVID hit, I was supposed to go that year, couldn't go. And then this year, I'm like, I'm definitely going. And nope. And I'll tell you, it made it much harder to negotiate the contract that I had to deal with because management had changed. Some of the people had changed. I didn't have a personal connection with them. They didn't know my story. I didn't know their story. And it really was just about business in many ways. And it took probably an extra 3 or 4 months to do the contract that we do every 3 years. It took a long time to do it, where the personal connection would have helped. So my game plan is to try to make up for that and get there next year and build it up. And then the year after, I'll try to visit as well. I don't know the travel situation, but India is such a beautiful country. The people are so nice. It's so hardworking. And, and the food's amazing too. So India is awesome. Just one of the places I visited the most, 7 trips. So.
Right.
Cool.
Thank you, Ken.
Awesome. And next we have Mark. Mark is on the agenda once again, and he is the president of, say the name of it again.
President of Massachusetts Minuteman chapter.
No, not that. Your company.
Yes, I'll talk about it.
Okay. So Mark is going to talk about understanding cross-functional responsibilities in the supply chain. So thank you, Mark. The floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, very good again. Good to interact with all of you again this evening. And so I'm just going to share some slides, because initially I thought there were no slides, but since I had seen some slides, I thought, I'll also just put together kind of a brief on what we talk about, introduce a little bit of what we do. So, Karen introduced, basically it was featured as Demand Planning LLC, and we did rebrand as Altitude. So it's a consulting boutique, and we've been in business for almost 15, 16 years now. Well, if my math is right, 17 years and going, right? So, predominantly, we specialize in 2 types of areas: strategy consulting and technology implementation. And, I have been, I have worked in many areas in my career. So I actually started as a chartered accountant, originally from India. And, I think I kind of enjoy my India connection with Ken. Ken and I go out for Indian food often. So in any case, I am actually a chartered accountant from India, as I said, and I used to work in the automotive industry in Chennai, and Chennai is where I'm from originally. But I have, I have a PhD in financial economics in the US. And, instead of taking a job in investment banking, I took a job with Federal Express in analytics, and that led me to supply chain. So FedEx is where I started my career. And I did a lot of work in quantitative modeling and analytics, and largely from my finance background. Then that brought me to Merck, where I was working in the supply chain group in Merck. And then finally, my last stint in corporate career was at Procter & Gamble. Actually, it was Gillette Company in Boston, that was acquired by Procter & Gamble. So, I remember my office on the 35th floor on the Prudential. That was actually like fun times. It just sounds like fun times now, but I remember like working 70-hour weeks there. So, primarily, my career has been kind of a blend of trying to bring analytics and process together for making strategic decisions. So that's kind of like what we offer also in consulting. And we have different areas that we touch. More recently, in the last 7 years or so, we've been doing technology implementation as we grew as a company. But primarily, I would say that our brand value is trying to bring, analytics, process, and strategy together to offer the solution to the client that would be, more usable. So, I'm not going to bore you with all this. We have clients across the board. We have many clients in the Fortune 500. In fact, we are working with Facebook Technologies, Qualcomm, Pepsi, and Honeywell as we speak this year. So, supply chain has become very popular and we are in demand, right? And I assure you, if you focus on supply chain, especially with some analytics background, you will be in great demand when you graduate. So just to kind of talk about supply chain, I know these are terms that are kind of loosely thrown around: supply chain, operations management, right? So supply chain, when you think of supply chain, most people think about factories, ships, distribution centers, retail stores, what have you, right? So it's not just about moving products and services, but about collaboration among the various parties in the supply chain, and including the extended supply chain. And what do we mean by extended supply chain? Extended supply chain includes everybody in the value chain, including customers and suppliers. And in fact, this is one of the reasons why things broke down during the pandemic. So at the end of the day, the essence is about supply being able to meet demand, right? That is very important. The supply chain exists to meet customer demand. So today, when you look at today's supply chain is a very popular field, because since 2020, almost everybody, you can talk to a little kid, they will tell you that there is issues across the board, huge spikes in demand. And it used to be a run on toilet paper sometime in 2020, right? Empty shelves, we can't find hand sanitizers, toilet paper, paper towels, that type of stuff. So huge spikes in demand, supply shortage that we have, and that could be somewhat attributed to labor shortage as well. So, and labor shortage, not just in the US, labor shortage everywhere, all over the world. Interestingly and ironically, labor shortage in China, basically. China, is complaining about lack of people to work. And in fact, Chinese ports, there are many containers that are waiting to be loaded into ships. So, in fact, our prediction is the fourth quarter is going to be very, very tough in terms of, ability to find product. So one of the things you may have already heard in the news is about, actually people are urging everybody to go shopping now for Christmas, right? When products are available, because it seems like things would be running out pretty soon. So what happened? The pandemic has changed the game for global supply chains, and supply chain is a very popular word. Like most people who have no idea what supply chain is, now we're asking about supply chain. And in fact, actually, when I meet new people, and I say what I do, they're like, wow, you're in supply chain. My God, you must be like very busy. And they also thank me because they think that I am going to make products available, right? As a consultant, I'm going to help companies make products available. I hope so. So majority of supply chains that were operating on the edge, right? Most of the supply chains were operating on the edge. They were the ones that found themselves in chaos when the pandemic outbreak, started, right? They were either like on the border in terms of, capacity, or running with some capacity constraints, supply constraints, what have you. So when the disruptions happened, they couldn't face it, right? In fact, some of the bigger companies, they complained that they didn't have product. Store shelves were empty. So it went to the point where Costco decided to make its own toilet paper because they can't find enough toilet paper. So you probably see, Kirkland toilet paper was the first one that was available in the store, right? Because, the famous companies, the companies are known for toilet paper, they couldn't make toilet paper. So basically disruption has increased quite a bit during the pandemic. And now, after we are unwinding from the pandemic, getting into 2021, now we are operating in the reverse, right? It used to be disruption, short supply, but we would hope that companies would just try to plan for demand coming back in 2021, it didn't look like that happened. Companies had myopia. When they saw demand kind of, drop in the middle of 2020, when, people were laid off and there's not enough money to spend, that type of stuff, people were also cutting back on capacity and production. And they just kind of communicated signals that told the suppliers to cut back, ramp down on production in the next year or 2 years. So that caused, that is causing a severe problem now, because you can't just put resources back to work in 2021. So basically you have long-term, lack of long-term thinking and planning, right? Long-term planning. When the pandemic hit, we were on a bullwhip mode, right? So we were not looking at 2021 or 2022. And lack of cross-functional collaboration and thinking, joint business planning with customers and suppliers. And these are all things that kind of like have created where we are now in 2021, right, into 2022. So collaboration is very important in supply chain, right? Collaboration could be threefold. Internal collaboration, which happens within the organization, right, to understand demand, right? So you are actually getting such input from your marketing and sales teams. And then there is extended collaboration with customers. There is a concept called CPFR. In fact, we implemented this for a couple of major Fortune 500 tech companies, in 2020. So CPFR stands for collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment. So this essentially looks at the extended supply chain and talks to customers and people who work in the, with the customers, and, including external agents, brokers, business analysts that work at the customer, so that information is shared between both the manufacturer and the supplier. And then lastly, S&OP. S&OP brings everything together. It's about collaboration, but also understanding conflicting priorities and resolve conflicts, right? So there is collaboration, but there is also an honest, unbiased methodology to resolve conflicts. So if you think about it, sales and S&OP stands for sales and operations planning. Many of you may be new to this concept, so I highly recommend that you Google this, S&OP, sales and operations planning. In fact, it is actually a very, very popular career path. I mean, obviously, early in your career, you may not be in S&OP, you would be in one of the fields that is in either analytics or forecasting, demand planning, replenishment planning, that type of stuff. But then as you mature in your career, S&OP is a very, very, very good career. So essentially what we are talking about is the collaboration that happens between multiple parties within the organization, right? Sales teams that are very important. That's the reason why it's sales as part of S&OP. Finance, which brings information to the senior management in the form of both revenue plans as well as profit plans. Marketing and business unit planning. And then supply chain, which essentially is going to make goods and services available, or at least tell you what is not available. Because right now companies are more concerned about what is not available than what is available. So, supply chain is a fantastic field, and careers in supply chain, across the board that are helping or that are facilitating sales and operations planning are really bright career paths. So what are some of the, career opportunities, career tracks that you can think about? Supply chain KPIs and metrics, all part of the analytics. So operations analytics is an important field. There is math, there is stat, there is also all these advanced concepts, because companies are using advanced techniques now for predictive analytics. Sourcing and supplier performance, which Ken talked about a little bit. And finally, data storytelling, right? I don't know if you've heard of data storytelling. Again, Google data storytelling. Essentially, it is not about analytics, but bringing analytics together to kind of craft the right story so that your audience understands. Audience meaning the non-technical audience would understand what you're trying to say. So, first of all, you want to bring the math, the analytics to tell us, to bring the analytics to come up with the decisionable alternatives, right? That's where the analytics comes into play, because you don't want to just really kind of use judgment there. You want to use real data and facts. So, data and analytics are very important. But once you do that, you have to craft the story. And that story is important in terms of presenting it to management so they could make the right decisions. So essentially, I would just highly recommend, thinking about the cross-functional collaboration that takes place in supply chain. If you're taking courses, look at it from that angle in terms of how different parties collaborate, within the organization. So with that, I am open for questions. So let me stop sharing.
I'm not a student, but I have questions that are it. So
Yes,
I am a
Joe.
student. I'm taking my
CSCP, yes, of course.
They're
so
all
maybe
students of life.
so maybe Mark, coming back from a career standpoint, when you ventured off into consulting from corporate, right?
Right.
Were there some things that you would, if you can go back in time, some things that might have surprised you, saying, "Oh man, this is a lot better of a environment. It fits me much better," or maybe some surprises said, "Holy crap, I didn't think I'd be having to do this." And was there anything that surprised you, good or bad, in the move from
Great
corporate
question.
to consulting?
That's a great question on reality, right? So when I was in corporate, when I was in Procter & Gamble, I was in a lot of demand. I was just doing a lot of internal consulting, people coming to me about different questions like that I was able to answer. In fact, we had like some of the high-powered consultings, the top 3 strategy companies. We'll have consultants that come in and ask me questions about what is MAPE, what is SNOP, right? But then, I realized, one thing is consulting, obviously, I get the cross experience across multiple companies, multiple business models, right? But it's not a dream career, right? So you think about it, you have all these dreams moving into consulting, then you realize there is something called as sales, right? You could be very good, but you're not going to sell yourself on its own, right? So you have to pursue projects. So I realized there is a whole bunch of stuff that you have to do in terms of sales and marketing, to bring the projects in. Obviously, people want to hear from you. People want to get your advice, but to make ends meet, right? At the end of the day, they also have to pay for it. If it is free advice, well, people will take it. So it is a balancing game. In fact, when we started the company, 3 of us started the company. Our objective, in fact, our mission was to bring the same type of technology and analytics to smaller companies in the SMB sector, right? Companies that have less than $1 billion in revenue or $500 million in revenue. But in fact, if you think about it, after 15 years, most of our clients are in the Fortune 500 because those are the guys that can pay, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do work with smaller companies. Our mission is still there. We want to do it. But really, I think the reality speaks, right? So those are some of the things that you learn when you start out. So it's not a bed of roses.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Any other questions from the students? Okay, I guess I have collaborated you out. Okay, Karen.
You're on mute, Karen. Sorry.
Sorry, thank you. We have 2 more speakers to go. And we'll start with Dan McCarthy, who is the Operations Supply Chain Manager at Amazon. And his topic this evening will be Take the Work Out of Networking. Can't wait to hear about this, Dan.
A lot to pack in 6 minutes. So I want to thank Ken for the invitation, and I thank the students and the other attendees for their attention tonight. You could be watching Game of Thrones reruns or something else with your time, but instead...
About their videos, Dan. They could be. Who knows? Let's hope
if we
they're
can,
with us.
Yeah. So to echo what Michelle said, I look at students as my farm team. I want to get them young and train them right. So if there's a way, I'll be interviewing you tonight. And second, I want to echo what Emily has said. Job searches can be terrifying as a student. So if I can give you 1 or 2 pointers tonight to help make your job search that much easier when you're ready to go to work, then I will fulfill my duty as a supply chain professional. So let's touch on the 5 whys of networking. What is it? When do you do it? Who do you do it with? Where do you do it? Why do you do it? And then we'll touch a little bit on how you do it. So in my view, what is networking? Networking isn't about asking for a job. Networking is about getting some private time with somebody that has more or different experience than you and in asking them how they got there. So that's me what networking is. Then you build a database of expertise and skills from people you may get contact with. With that information, then you can then connect them to somebody who needs those skills and expertise. That maybe it's oversimplified, but that's what I've been doing since 1992. When should you be networking? Clearly, 25 of us are doing it tonight. I know some of you on the call tonight, many of you I don't know. So I am always networking. There's always somebody that I can help, I think. There's always somebody that can help me. I've got a lot of needs in business, and we have 60 open jobs at Amazon Blink right tonight out of 200 people. I can't know enough people. If your brother-in-law or sister-in-law is a software engineer and we meet tonight and I get them that job, not only do I get the $1,500 finder's fee, I also get the satisfaction of taking the pressure off people that are with me in the trenches trying to get new products to market. Who, as a college student, should you network with? In real life, back in the day, I would say you go to an Apex meeting, you find the table with the guys and ladies with the grayest hair, and you sit next to them. We have more scars than you'll ever have. I met a guy once, he said, I've spilled more beer than you'll ever drink. I've made more mistakes in supply chain than any 5 of you put together. And if you ask me about them, I'll tell you, and then you won't make those mistakes, and then you'll be the rock star. So who you should network with? I'd say, I think Michelle volunteered everybody on the board of directors. So maybe Ken in the chat at some point, if you got the masthead. I think that our information's out there in the public domain. So those of you who want to spend more time to explore networking in depth, my offer is out there. I've made this before. I think Michelle and I shared the stage at BU 2 years ago. 120 students in the audience. I said, here's Macadan at Amazon.com. And I think I talked with maybe 6 or 7 people in depth about networking after that. Another 114 people, maybe my story, maybe my shtick didn't work for them, but I'm still in touch with those 6 people from 2 years ago. Where do you network? If you get in somebody's office, which in the time of pandemic, that's maybe less likely, but I'll take a phone call, I'll take a Zoom call, not that I need more of them in my life, but you should find people that are in supply chain and say, can I have 15 minutes of your time? How do you do that? How do you get people's time? Your homework assignment, if you decide to take it on top of other courses you're taking, Google best techniques for informational interviews, words like that. You read the top 10 articles, and then you try these techniques out with people that you know. Do it in a safe environment. By the time you're sitting across the table from me or anyone else on the board of directors, you'll have a confidence base saying, I'm going to ask questions. This is about you building your confidence to get out into the world. The goal you want is not to get a job out of this. Number 1 rule in networking, never, ever, ever ask for a job. It will be illegal to ask for another meeting with somebody else, but don't ever ask for a job. If I don't have a job for you, I'm going to feel bad if I can't help you, but never, ever ask for a job. 2 other must-dos at the end of a meeting with me or somebody else, you will send a thank you email. My time is worth at least $3.50 an hour, like I used to make sacking bags at Stop and Shop. So you want to thank me for my time, or thank anybody that's going to give you 15 minutes or half an hour of our time. And the second thing you want to do is to ask, how can I help you? As I said earlier, networking is a 2-way street. If you're a 20-year-old at UMass Lowell, you can help me somehow. We just don't know yet because we haven't met, and I don't know who you know in your network. And maybe a third corollary is, at the end of that meeting, set an auto reminder in your calendar a month later, hey, I took the 2 or 3 things you suggested, Dan, and here's what I found out about them. If you're in front of me all the time, by the time you graduate in May, and I've got a job that's got 60,000 of these from Jeff Bezos, and you're interested in that, and you stayed in touch with me, 60,000 of these could be yours as a freshly minted grad from one of the schools that we're talking about. 70%, 80% of the jobs in life, you'll apply online, it goes into the jungle. You want to be the only candidate for an unadvertised job. you want to be the only candidate for an unadvertised job. If you keep your name in front of me from October through May when you graduate, and and we build a relationship, someone will call me of my 4,723 LinkedIn connections saying, I'm looking for a freshly minted college grad that's got interest in supply chain. I was just talking with Seth Brown. He's one of the only ones that I'm going to remember for tonight because everybody else's cameras are turned off. Or Kusalia. I'm going to remember Kusalia and Seth. Those of you students, the other rule of networking, don't be anonymous. We should be seeing your faces tonight. Otherwise, I won't remember you. I can't give you 60,000 of these if we don't have a connection. All right, 1 minute over. Who has the first question?
That was very well said. 60,000 of those, huh?
Bezos bucks.
So just to add it,
retirement, Dan.
so just to add it, Dan was my connection to get an Amazon. So yeah, and I worked for Blink before I joined Amazon Robotics. So
I can tell
and
you,
Daisy, you were the connection for a student that you helped me get a job in another company.
yeah, I can tell those on the call, Daisy was the only candidate for an unadvertised job at Blink. At Blink Cameras, only candidate. When Daisy left us, our hearts were broken, but guess who replaced her? Someone I had networked with. We didn't miss a beat. Well, we miss you terribly, but we filled that role before that seat was even cold because of a network connection that I had.
Yep.
So when should you be networking? All the time. So the person that got Daisy's job was also the only candidate for an unadvertised job. None of you would have ever seen this job on a job board. Never made it there. When you stay connected, you stay in motion. You keep the company in motion.
Very, very strong advice, Dan. I think it's a very good point that you just hit it on the head about, personal connections and then visibility, right? Staying anonymous in a network is there is no point in networking, correct?
You will not be working.
Yeah.
And one thing that I want to add it, like I'm early in my career still, but one thing you want to make sure you always leave the door open, because I have got calls from my network put out a long time ago regarding job opportunities. My job before with Blink, I had an interview with this recruiter, and she remembered me a year later. She was like, oh, the position didn't work, but I remember that you have project management. And that's how I got the position that was before, work as a CMC program manager for a biotech company. So even if it doesn't work, what Dan is saying, like send a thank you note, like literally like being like polite, be nice. Because
segue. What a great segue to our recruiter, Ryan Hurd. If we have no further questions for Dan. Any further questions for Dan before we go to our recruiter? Well,
Karen, if I may, just for the students, right? At least, based on what Dan had said, I assume most of you are still engaged and listening to the sessions now. Where I would encourage you to ask questions and then turn your cams on so that you introduce yourself and then ask the question. So that way people can remember you and you get something out of the networking today. Thank you.
Oh, I had one thing too, Karen. I was going to say that the networking part is huge, as Dan said. And, Daisy is on our board of directors now at Apex, ASCM, Massachusetts Minuteman. And I will tell you this, I've been on Apex board for many, many years and made so many connections with speakers, CEOs, there's a CEO at Vecna, all kinds of people that are very influential because they're experts in the supply chain field. They're either CPOs or higher in some cases. And, if you being a part of Apex and ASCM is huge for networking. This right here, our virtual meetings every month and meeting us. And also if you want to help out on the board of directors, let me know. I put my email address in the chat, and that's how Daisy came in. And then Daisy brought her hubby, Derek, and it was awesome. So, it's great networking, and, right away you get to talk to Dan McCarthy, who's also on the board. And that's a neat network connection to Amazon. So this and Michelle Lawrence, who you heard at the beginning, was Pfizer. One of the people, Frank, is down at Genzyme Sanofi. So being part of the board it's a nonprofit, and it's a lot of fun people. You definitely should check it out. So let me know, send me an email, and then we'll chat, and we'll get Mark on, the president, and we'll figure out what we can do. So anyway, I'll go back to mute.
Thank you very much, Ken. And Dan, before we move on to Ryan, we're running out of time, guys. Come
Okay.
on.
All right. So guess who just linked in with me? Seth Brown. Seth
I was
Brown.
just going to say Seth Brown. It's got to be Seth.
Well played, Seth. Well played.
Yes, well played. Good job.
Eyes for action, Seth.
Ryan is with Michael Page International, and she's been gracious to be our senior recruiting consultant this evening. And she's going to talk to us about preparing for your first interview and potential job. And I'm not sure there's that much more you can say than everything that's been said this evening. So I challenge you, Ryan. I look forward to what you have to say.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the introduction, and both to Karen and Ken for having me tonight. It's so great to be on here. I graduated school in 2016, and it feels like yesterday that I was going to career fairs and different types of events just like this at my alma mater, Chapman University. So it's great to be involved. Surprised we don't have some more cameras coming on after we've hammered that home, but hope that you guys are still tuning in. And just as a little introduction, just to get started, Karen did a great job, but I'll go back even a little bit further. I graduated, as I mentioned, 2016. Initially, my first job out of school was actually with Target, the one that we all know and love. And I was in management and also a part of the recruitment team there, which got me into my recruitment job when I moved to Boston in 2018. So at Michael Page, I'm a senior recruitment consultant specializing in the industrial engineering and manufacturing space. I also cover, all around supply chain operations, inventory management, from lower to mid-level jobs all the way up to VP roles and executive positions. So across the board there and all over New England. So, and also at Michael Page, we have other teams that are focused in accounting and finance and sales and marketing, technology, quality engineering, life sciences. So we cover a lot here, but we're very specialized. So I am in the industrial space. But to get started just on my topic here, so of course I'm covering preparing for your first interview and potential job. So there's a few steps that you want to cover when and where you are right now, still in school, getting ready for graduation that will be coming up. I'm not sure what year you all are, but at some point in the next maybe 6 months or a year or so. And so getting your LinkedIn up to date and ready is extremely important. All employers will look at this. All recruiters will look at this. People who don't have a presence on LinkedIn, it doesn't look great. You want to show employers that you have an updated profile with your experience. It doesn't have to be your full resume, but at least points of interest, your technical experience, skill set, things like that are on your LinkedIn. And also what you'll want to do is make sure that you change your settings to open to work. That way, recruiters will be able to look at your profile and see that you are actively looking for a new opportunity. So first, after your LinkedIn is already good to go, I'm sure you're all paying a lot of attention to your resumes right now and getting those all ready to go. So what I would say around resumes is very important to keep them very clean and concise. I love editing resumes. I love looking at them. It started off as kind of a tedious thing and has become something that's kind of fun in my job. I'm no professional resume editor, but it's something that once you get used to it, it becomes very easy. I always say, take out the fluff. You want to keep it, as I said, very concise, very easy to read, especially with college students who are just about to enter the professional world and just starting their first big interviews for their first step in their career. In terms of formatting, always put your education at the top of the resume, because you likely won't have an excessive amount of experience. You might have internships and co-ops. That's fantastic. But put your education at the top. That will highlight what you've been, what you learned in school. You can put courses that you've learned, your GPA there. And then below that, that's where your internships, your co-ops will go, and also technical skill set and certifications that we've talked about so much today. Certifications are key and look great to employers and recruiters alike. And so also when I mentioned not adding a lot of fluff to your resumes, I've had, when I submit a CV to one of my clients, I've frequently had them come back, or not frequently, but a number of times in my career at Michael Page, which is 3 years on Friday. So quite a while now. But I get feedback that says, you know, I can clearly see that this candidate is just trying to bulk up their resume. You know, they're not really putting actual like concise bullet points. It's more, it's fluff. You know, they're just adding a bunch of words and trying to make it look a lot more than what their experience is. And they can see that they can all get it. Nope. And it's much better just to have the exact experience that you've had in your career put there in a very clear type of way. You also want to make sure that your resume doesn't read like a job description. It should be a bulleted list of your accomplishments, unique job responsibilities, technical knowledge, ways that you've made an impact on, it could be projects that you worked on in school, research opportunities that you had, like I said, co-ops, internships, those types of things. But you want to make sure that it doesn't read like a job description. You really want to differentiate yourself. As Michelle said earlier, that's so important. You want to stand out from the crowd. That's how you're going to get the attention that you want, and not just if you put very generalized experience. So that would be my resume advice. And if you have more questions about that, definitely reach out to me. I'm trying to move through my notes here pretty quickly. And next, so that comes the interview, of course, the exciting part when you get the call back that you want, that the employer you're targeting wants to interview you. And so, I mean, one great thing about the time that you are in school right now and graduating during this crazy time, this pandemic, which has just been a total whirlwind for everyone, especially, I mean, people in school right now. There have been so many changes in your lives, going virtual and all of that. And similarly, employers have learned how to do the same thing. There's been a ton of adjustment with interviewing to make things go virtual and having employers be a bit more flexible and versatile in their interviewing tactics. So what I'm seeing mostly is typically there will be a first round phone call interview. And then after that, you'll likely have maybe a video interview. Employers often use Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Google Hangout. And then occasionally, and what we're seeing now is people are liking to have candidates come on site to at least see the office or the facility or where they're going to be working. But a couple of tips for all interviews in general is always do research on the company. Look at their website, look up articles online, check out the company's LinkedIn, familiarize yourself. You know, employers will get you on the phone or virtually or on site and say, what do you know about our company? Why are you interested in us? And you want to be ready to answer that question. Research the people that you're going to be interviewing with on LinkedIn. Take a look at their profile, get a look at their experience. That will also help you prep for questions that you can ask, you know, how they got involved with the company, why they did that, you know, what's kept them there so long. You're going to want to review the job description, fully in detail so that you can address the key points from the requirements and how your skill set relates to those requirements. Make sure that you prepare questions in case there is time for those. Sometimes there is, sometimes there's not, just based on the interviewer schedule. But you can draw these from the research that you did on the company or the interviewer or the job description in general. Before going on site, or mainly going on site, I would say, always just check what their dress code is. These days, you don't always know. Some places have gone very casual. Some are still asking for, you know, a nice blazer and a button down. So you just don't want to walk into a place and look totally out of character. And that's a good question that employers will appreciate, you know, just like, what is the overall dress code for the company? And then always show up at least 5-10 minutes would be great ahead of time. Timeliness and attendance is key. If you are late or if you miss an interview, even if you had class or, you know, you were, even if you were finishing up dinner with a friend and you blamed it on class or homework or whatever, it's a really bad look and will likely cost you the opportunity. So make sure that you block out your schedule for, if it's a 30-minute long interview, block it out for an hour, just so you know that you can make it. And then as Dan touched on as well, just before me, always get the contact info of the people, the person who you interviewed with, and send them thank you. It is so impactful. I've had candidates, like I've had 2 candidates in process for the same role at the same time. And the candidate that reached out and said thank you and was engaged, they got the job. So, I mean, it's just proof in the pudding kind of stuff. And then for video interviews, whether it's, like I mentioned, the Teams, Zoom, Google Hangout, make sure you do a trial run before the actual interview, test the software, make sure that you can get in, you can access it. Delays do kind of offset things and make things a little awkward. So you just want to make sure that you're able to actually join it if it is virtual.
And make sure your lighting is right.
Yes, make sure your lighting is right. Very important. And all these things seem like things you would just know, but they're also just little things that kind of slip to the wayside, and they're actually really important. Employers do take notice. And as we've covered, I mean, quite a few times during this presentation now, make sure that your camera works. And if it's a video interview, make sure that it's on. We've covered so much about how, you know, seeing someone's face, especially networking and interviewing is huge. Having that personal connection when we're all living in this much more virtual world right now makes all of the difference and can definitely get you to the next step. If you join a virtual interview and you're just on audio, it's not a good look. So make sure you have your video on. Make sure you have great Wi-Fi so there's no glitches that go on. Make sure you're in a quiet space, not like a coffee shop. You don't want to have any distractions. If you're in your house like I am, just make sure the background is either blurred, you have a filter on, or it's not messy. I once had this director level candidate go in for an interview and he had clothes laying all over the chairs in the background of his screen, and they were like, this is not okay, and didn't move forward with that candidate. He had like 15 years of experience. It's crazy. So dress the part, dress like you would for an on-site interview, even if it's virtual, and have cheat sheets. Keep that job description pulled up on your browser, keep your resume pulled up, keep the person's LinkedIn pulled up. I mean, virtual interviews allows you to have all of these opportunities that you wouldn't have if you were on site. So use them to your advantage. And then let's see, I would say, for on-site interviews, this is actually huge right now, kind of my last point here. Of course, arrive early, dress an appropriate dress code, bring a couple copies of your resume, but also just because it's so relevant, make sure you know the COVID precautions. A lot of businesses are doing things around this right now. A lot of times it's really just showing up with a mask, making sure that you're all checked out on that, checking about their vaccine protocols and all of that, just based on, you know, the business size and everything. But that is something that you want to be prepared for, just so that, you know, you're adhering to the protocols of the business that you're hoping to get a job at. But as long as you follow all of these steps, you know, I hope that you've taken note of them, because a lot of it is stuff that I've seen candidates miss on, and then they don't get the job, they don't get the second interview, and that's heartbreaking for people when, you know, they're very excited about a new opportunity. So as I mentioned, you're in a great spot. The job market is so hot right now. I have never been busier, and please connect with me on LinkedIn. shoot me an email. I'm always happy to give advice and connect you with people within Michael Page to find a job. So thank you so much.
Would you like us to list your email on the chat?
Sure. Yes, I can write that in right now.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I was going to say also, Ryan, that I know here at Excelis, when we interview people, some people have done their research ahead of time in all areas and some haven't. And we can tell who they are pretty quickly, and we make those interviews much shorter. And
Yeah.
secondly, there's so much available info out there. And the networking part really helps, because if you know someone at the company, you can say, hey, tell me a little more. What do I need to know? My son Darian had a buddy who worked at Facebook, prepped him for 2 months. He aced the interviews and got the job. So it's good to have a networking connection there. And secondly, I not only say research about the company, but also about the market within that company salary-wise, because we had several people asking for some pretty astronomical numbers and we had to rule them out pretty quick. They thought, well, the market's hot, I'm going to ask for whatever I want, and it didn't work out for them. So just something to think about.
Great point.
Okay. Any questions for Ryan from anyone?
Ryan, I have a questions.
Yeah.
Like to know how much percentage of the employer now, when they have an open job position, they list it as it has to be vaccinated or something like that?
So we're not seeing that it's listed, but it's always something that, as a recruitment consultant, and when I take on a new client, these are questions that I always cover with my client just to make sure that we're adhering to those protocols. I would say from a candidate standpoint, whether you're going through a recruiter or not, always, I would ask about that, see what the protocols are. I think that recently it's been pretty black and white now, just with what Biden came out with about if you're over 100 employees, you have to have everyone vaccinated unless there's certain cases in which you wouldn't need to be or wouldn't desire to be vaccinated. So they're not really posted online. Maybe that will happen in the future, but employers are very forthcoming and outright about what their protocols are. Typically, if you don't ask, but if you do, that just shows that you're doing your due diligence.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Any further questions? It's just about 8 and we need to wrap this up. But if there are any other questions, before we go into the networking that you can choose to do by staying on the call, I just want to call the meeting to an official end with a surprise. And that surprise is that we threw everybody's names in a hat, and Ken and I here on the side, in between all this wonderful sharing, pulled out 2 names for our drawing tonight. And we have $25 gift certificates to Amazon. And we have 2 winners. And one of our winners is, and I don't know if I'm going to say it right again, but Adia Rajesh.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Either way, any way you'd like.
You're welcome. And our other winner is Seth Brown. And I'm glad your names came out of the hat. These are the 2 people we've especially gotten to know this evening. And so it's very important that we have 2 winners, but I'm glad to recognize the 2 of you. Okay, so
if they could put their address, Karen, in the chat.
Make sure you stay on the call and put your addresses here so we can get those prizes to you.
And Daisy, I'll get it to Derek so he can mail them out.
Awesome.
I'm sorry I didn't have my camera on, but thank you for
finally.
everything.
Well,
very nice. Good to see you, Adela. Okay, good. So you are a networking 101 now.
And a lot of you did introduce yourselves at the beginning of the meeting, and we appreciate that at the very least. Okay, so that concludes the end of our meeting. Ken, I'm sure you want to, at least I think you want to say something about their being able to do a survey for you.
Yes, yeah. So in the chat, I also put, a couple of things. I put my email address in case you're interested in working with the board, one way or another. We can certainly try to accommodate, and just indicate that that's what you're interested in. You can just email me. And secondly, I did put in the chat section a link to the survey, which we want your feedback. We adjust these meetings based on your feedback. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is the certificate link is there too, so you can show your professor. I would print it out, put your name in it, drop it on his desk and say, hey, I attended, just like you said. And I bet you they will give you a little extra nudge up on could go either way from 3.7 or 3.8. You get the 3.8, right? Get the higher grade. And but be careful not to share that with other non-students other students that didn't attend, because the professors will often send me an email and say, hey, give me the participant list that really signed in on Zoom. And we have all those names. So that's important. Just keep that in the back of your mind. But the links are there. You got to copy them now while the meeting is going. We'll still have networking, right? So we can chat for anyone who wants to chat after the meeting. And there you go.
A special thank you to all of our board of directors and members who were willing to be on this call. Take your time this evening to share with our students. Very much appreciated. And thank you to all the students who have participated this evening. Again, the meeting is officially ended, but those who would like to stay on and network, by all means. Ken and I aren't going anywhere until we're the last two on the call.
We will be the last two on the call. And thanks to you, Karen, for helping set this up. You are,
well done,
as
Karen.
always, a master.
Thank you all. And thank you, Karen and Ken, for putting all the effort to make this a great program. I think very successful program, and I'm pretty sure everyone benefited from this. Again, actually, I invite the students to join the ASCM. Membership is free. And also, please feel free to join the LinkedIn group, ASCM. We have a LinkedIn group as well, and feel free to connect with any of the Minuteman chapter board members. All right. Thank you very much. And I'm going to sign off.
All right. Bye, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adila.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure I said your name right. When we were looking up, like I pulled the right name out. So I went to LinkedIn to double check that I have it right, because it's such tiny font on Zoom. And I was going to say your LinkedIn says Methuen still high school, so you definitely want to update that per Ryan's suggestion. Not a bad thing. My daughter is in the same boat.
Overachiever, Adila.
I love it.
All right. And so my question, since Seth and Adia are still on the call, would be, what did you get out of this evening's meeting that is something that we should make sure we do every time?
Well, one thing I got out of it was definitely the importance of networking and how many connections you can get out of it, and also very much so how you can get jobs coming out of it, and all the connections throughout different companies.
And if I remember, you were saying that you're very close to that job market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, actually, I was looking at the I just joined the LinkedIn group, and there's someone from my past co-op that is also in that group. So there's a connection already.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you, Dila?
I noticed that every presentation had a supply chain. They talked about supply chain in one way or another, as well as like jobs in general and being present. So what I got from everyone is that like to ask questions even when you are a little nervous, like in the business world, it's very necessary to keep going and be present in every opportunity.
Yes, and were you part of marketing as well as part of your studies?
Yeah, I finished all my marketing
Right.
classes.
And so I was pleased to see, and I think it was Mark's presentation, that there was a link there for you so you can see how important it is that sales, marketing, it doesn't matter what field you're in inside of a company, you overlap. You are part of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Any
I love
questions?
all of the LinkedIn requests that I just got. It's fantastic.
You are very popular, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I just went to go request people and I was like, oh my gosh, look at all of this like popularity I'm getting over here.
Yes.
That's wonderful. So a lot of our students this evening have linked in with you.
Yeah, a few of them. It's great to see. So hopefully more will come through, and hopefully
Yes.
they'll email. I'm always happy to link them up if I'm not the right person in the business.
Right.
Try to get them along with someone else. So
Brian,
I'm
we'll
gonna
be hitting
update
you up
mine.
for the February meeting, student night, because
Sign
you're a
me
lot
up.
of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I loved being here. It was great. It really I always love these events, talking to college students because it's so important. And there's a lot that I wish I knew going into my first interviews straight out of college. And it was interesting hearing people and just their career paths and how it totally started out so different than where they are now. I never thought I'd graduate 4 years of college, ton of money down, and go work at Target. But it was a great time and brought me to where I am today. So you never know where your first job or jobs are going to bring you. It's just a really exciting kind of journey.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I love what the people are also, Dan, your enthusiasm is infectious. And you get right to the point. You say it just like it is. You hit it up great. And Emily's slides were top notch. And the way Agnes and Daisy interacted back and forth was fun. I loved it. And just their expertise added to it all was wonderful. And Karen, that you moderated wonderfully as always.
Well, our chapter secretary has had some questions along the way, but we haven't heard a lot about what he does for a living, other than stand next to that map all day at work.
I'm trying to find where I am in the world. No, I'm actually now that everybody's saying it, I'm doing the same thing. I just pinged a few folks on LinkedIn too, and I think last time we had one of these events, that's when I pinged Dan, so to get on board. Yeah, so maybe quick introduction. I'm an alum from UMass Lowell. I think a few folks might still be on. Yeah, just I work at Dell Technologies. I've been part of Dell Technologies through the actual acquisition of EMC for about 23 years in supply chain. I'm a huge fan of the. I just wrote an article for our newsletter actually that said curiosity is the new renewable fuel for careers. So hearing events like this, it makes you think. I'm starting the CSCP studies. I'm trying to do a few new things. Students have what seems to be a natural curiosity, but as college gets later and later in college, you probably feel like I don't want to study anymore. I'm done studying. I want to go to work. Totally a fan of that perspective. Get out there, sleeves up, do some cool stuff, get engaged, but don't ever shortchange whatever new curiosities you might get out of your workplace and your experiences. Because I did 5 years in corporate finance, 4 years in a large corporate IT program for ERP implementation, 20 years materials. I did a startup out in Louisville, Kentucky for 4 years. Mark, you mentioned FedEx. I was with UPS's Worldwide Logistics for 4 years out in Louisville, Kentucky. So you never know where you're going to go. And again, maybe I'm just playing it up because of the recent article I wrote for Dell, but curiosity can be the new renewable energy for your career. So keep going, keep going.
I love that saying. I used to put up a slogan on the board for my students, and I would say, continuous learning is brain food.
Yeah. Yep. It's
Gotta
definitely
feed
something
your
that keeps
brains.
folks going.
Yes. So you
And
just said renewable energy. What was that?
Curiosity is the new renewable energy for your career. And maybe it's not new. Maybe people always knew it, but
but that
when you
saying
say new, people more likely read the article. So yeah.
that
I
saying
love
is
it.
perfect.
Yeah.
And by the way, everyone, this is on one of the student nights a couple of years ago, virtual. That's where we all got to meet Joe. And we were so impressed. We went after him and said, Joe, you got to join the board.
Yeah.
And you are amazing.
I just earlier today we were signing up for callback day for student employment at Dell. I work recruiting for Dell for grad students and undergrad students and bring them into callback days. And now that everything's virtual, you can get a job that's based in Austin, even if you're living in Massachusetts. Hence me. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes. Probably the first thing that Seth and Adila would want to do is invest in conversion band because you can work from anywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what my son and his wife have done, and they're just traveling all over the country, working from everywhere and anywhere.